Okay, everybody see that okay? Right, so thumbs up, by the way, if I ask a question. And by the way, we're going to have chat open so that if I ask you a question, just, type into chat your answer, okay? So we won't put we'll mute your microphones, because what ends up happening is otherwise the videos jump around like this and it's not helpful for the video. So okay, so staff issues masterclass. Yeah, it sounds like a negative, I have to say. It should be staff solutions masterclass, but anyway, let's get started. When you understand that building a business is not about you doing a job, then you begin to realize that at some point you need to consider hiring staff. For many people, this is a daunting task. If you already have staff, you will already know that people equal problems, right? This masterclass is designed to help you gain the right understanding to enable you to build the right strategies for eliminating the daily pain point of people. Remember the 3 daily pain points: people, products, and profits. Well, this is about eliminating the pain point of people. Also, well set up and run businesses are a joy to work for. Therefore, if you follow these principles, you will find it easy to recruit new, enthusiastic staff. Right? This is a lot of people come to me and say, we're having real problems finding staff at the moment. We just have and it's true, there is a lack of skilled labor in this country. We've just discussed that point. So I understand when people say, look, I just cannot find skilled labor to fill this role. Well, many of the issues around hiring skilled laborers can be solved by what we're going to talk about in the seminar. Because if you set the company up correctly, and if you set your staff management and recruiting up correctly, then it'll be a piece of cake finding good staff, because people will flood to you, and people will be knocking on your door. I'll give you an example. In the late 90s, I owned and ran a nightclub, and we initially, when we started, we had difficulty finding staff. By the time we'd been running for like a month, we were turning down 10 people a night who wanted to work for us. We just had so many people who wanted to work for us. We had the pick of many people. In fact, it got to a stage where, when we did have a little issue with floating through the staff, because of one of the other co-owners had embezzled some money out and used some of the staff to do that, we were able to shut it down, renovate, change its name, make all the current staff redundant, and then hire the pick of the people that we wanted to hire back again. And it was very easy to do that, because we had set everything up so well for the staff that we just had people pouring in who wanted to work for us. And we've found that the same for most businesses we've owned, because we've set them up in such a way that they're so good for stuff. I'll tell you the story, and hopefully this will illustrate how much our heart goes towards our staff and not just towards profits. When our programmers that work for us full time left, we gave them, this is when they left, this is not when they started the job, when they left, we gave them the most expensive Apple laptop that we could buy at the time, okay, which was about a $5,500 laptop. We would gift that to them as a thank you. It's like, if you like, a leaving bonus, if you like, it's like the gold watch for working for us, we would gift them a brand new Apple laptop when they're leaving. We even shipped one over to England to a guy who was working for us when he left. And he was absolutely shocked and floored that he would resign from a job and leave, go and get another job, and the job he just left would give him a brand new laptop for leaving. It's like, holy crap. I'll compare and contrast that to my wife has recently stepped back from a job that she was working 3 years for a company, and the employers, who are actually Japanese-owned company, the employers didn't even send her an email to say thank you for working for us. No acknowledgement, no comment, no nothing. Nothing at all. I mean, it was like she just no longer existed after handing in her resignation letter. Unbelievable. And she transformed the business. They went from doing when she arrived, the head chef had already been there 3 years. Most of the other chefs had been there for quite a long time before she turned up. She turned their high teas through her just better organisation. She turned her high teas from, I think it was 350 or 400 high teas a year to 5,000 high teas that kitchen was able to churn out every year. She grew their productivity so massively and sorted out so many of their issues. And the boss, the employers, the owners of the company didn't even acknowledge her when she left. Just, wow. And always tried to keep her wages as low as they could possibly do it. So there's compare and contrast. And this company now has an enormous problem trying to find skilled staff. They just can't. People who turn up are mostly insane, and I'm not kidding. They've literally had people turn up, get employed who are actually literally insane. And by the way, the insanity part I am not joking about. Unbelievable. And they have to hire them because, as the head chef said at one point, they have a pulse. We just need people. Which, oh my goodness me, disasters arising from that. So when you do things badly, you can't find good staff, and you can't retain good staff. When you do things well, the good staff can't wait to come and work for you, and it's very easy to retain them. So you get the idea. So when we're working through some of the issues that people have about finding and retaining staff, it really come back to these principles. How many times have we either been or seen a new employee turn from being enthusiastic and hardworking to problematic? Sometimes very quickly. You guys, this ring any bells? You've seen people leap and start working for a company, and very quickly they turn from being really enthusiastic to being a really shite staff member. Would it surprise you to know that this is solely the business owner's fault? It doesn't surprise me. I don't know if it surprises you guys. The solution is much easier than you may expect and can be defined by one word. Does anybody know what that word might be? Type into your chat if you know what that word might be. Anybody? Systems. Good answer, Debbie, but no. Okay? The answer is stress. It's really simple when you think about it. People want to do a job and they don't want to be living in stress or fear. And stress is really just another word for fear. Stress is really an outcome of you're fearful about something, so you're worried about it, so your stress levels go up. So I always use the word stress, but the word stress is really just another name for fear. And so creating a fearful work environment is what typically most employers do. Most employers get caught up in most employers get caught up in the idea that their staff are not as committed to the business as they are. This is not true. Most people desperately want to do the job they are hired for, even when they are hopelessly underqualified or underprepared for the role that they are assigned to. The reason employees turn sour is because of poorly set up and run businesses. So let's find out how to ensure your business is set up the right way so you and your employees don't fall into this trap. All right, number one, structure. If you have no blueprint to follow and are guessing how to set up and structure your company, how will you be able to assign people to sensible roles? Okay, this is the session 3 blueprint. Debbie, you've just been through it. Kevin, you're yet to go through it, but you've both read the book and you sort of know that it's there and you know roughly the layout. So if you don't have that blueprint, then you really don't understand what it is that people are there to do. Are they part of the conveyor belt? Are they part of the tap? Are they part of the water carrier? What is their real role in relation to this company? So where are they positioned in this company? And then structure also goes to the hierarchical structure of the company. Hoping that someone can sort out the problems as an expert whatever is a recipe for disaster. Okay, so somebody coming into your business and sorting out the problems that you're having in blah 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 area is just a recipe for disaster. I mean, this is the same as if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. From Benjamin Franklin, this is the same thing. We're expecting to hire in an expert as an employee. This is what consultants like me are there for. We're the experts to train you to do what you need to do before you hire the staff in, not after the fact. Don't hire a staff member to sort the problem out, because the problem there is you don't have a system for them to work through. You don't have a management system for them to work through. So typically what will happen is the job will manage the staff instead of the staff managing the job. You understand what I'm saying there? Same as running a small business. The business will run you instead of you running the business. You'll need to have a clear hierarchical structure with clearly defined roles that you can hire the right person to fill. Okay, so you need to know what the job is that you want somebody to fill, which leads us to the next point. Roles. People are effectively cogs in a machine or meat machines in a well-designed system. Each role will suit a particular personality type. See Myers-Briggs personality types. So this is really, really well known in the corporate sector again, but not well known in small to medium-sized businesses. There are certain personality types, broadly speaking, you've heard of introverts, you've heard of extroverts. These are just sort of very broad roles. Myers-Briggs breaks them down to a whole lot of other layers, and you can do free Myers-Briggs personality tests. You can do the whole thing and pay money to do it. But there are many, many types of personality tests, some free, some expensive, that you can do, which defines what somebody's personality type is. And that personality type fits a particular role. For example, I'm a visionary. I like to see the big picture. I'm a very visionary type of person. My wife, on the other hand, is a manager. So the difference between a visionary and a manager is a visionary will sort of see things in a haphazard sort of fashion all over the place, have a big picture, but sort of see things like this and are comfortable jumping between disparate areas very easily and very quickly. Whereas managers like to see things in a very organized step-by-step process. Okay, starting at point one, And often what will happen is managers will be upset more often than not with visionaries because, visionaries will already see like it's reality some big picture. Like, let's say they sign up somebody for a new contract and they see that contract could develop into something much bigger. So the visionary has already grasped the big picture and said, this is going to be $1 million business for us. Yay, let's go out and celebrate. Let's pop the bottle of champagne and have a big celebration because we've got this new big client. And the manager type will look at the money in the bank and go, where's the money? There's no money. Yes, you've signed the client up, but they haven't even paid their first account yet. Where's the money? Until the money's in the bank, I'm not interested. Get the job done, get the money in the bank, and then we'll celebrate. Which is very defeating for the visionary type of person, but it's very sensible from a management perspective. So there's two very different types of personalities. Now, you don't want a visionary in an accounting management role, and you don't want a manager in a marketing visionary inventing role. You don't want to mix these personalities around. You want to make sure that the personality fits the profile. There are some people who are just gifted teachers. I'm really not one of those, by the way, if you haven't already guessed doing these seminars. My wife, on the other hand, is a gifted teacher. She does things much more practically than I do. I'm much more sort of all over the place. But I'm gifted at writing this material because, I've been teaching this for so long and I've been doing this for so long, and that's not really what she does well. So there's different roles. Different people have different roles, and sometimes you want to slot You want to figure out who the person is you need. You decide what you need before you start looking to hire somebody. That's what a job description's all about. It's not just a list of functions that they're going to perform. It's you need to define that into personality types and what exactly you're looking for. Then put that in the job description, and then when somebody applies, you're trying to match that job description to the person, or the person to the job description. You're not just, oh, can you do the job? You've got a pulse, you're hired. That's going to be disastrous. So, we often say that don't try and hire a tractor to fill the role of a Ferrari. Some people are tractors, dung, 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 and they just, go over top of rough ground, and, they'll go over top of anything and through mud, and they don't care, they'll just keep going. Whereas a Ferrari are fast, but if you put a tiny little bump on the road, poof, they'll explode. So you don't want to hire a Ferrari to do the role of a tractor. You make sure the person fits the role. This is where you need to upskill yourself to better understand personality types and what types are best suited to the jobs you want filled. Okay? If you don't already know, you need to do some upskilling. Again, talk to me. I know a lot of information about this. Look at the Myers-Briggs personality type tests. Start to familiarize yourself. Do a bit of Google searching. All the information's out there. It's not actually that tricky. LinkedIn Learning does a whole lot of courses around this sort of thing as well. So the information's out there. You just need to look for it. Remember, in today's world, people will spend years training for a role they neither want nor are suited to do, personality-wise. E.g., it used to be that only very dedicated people would ever want to become a nurse or other type of health professional. Nowadays, people will simply look at the salary package and stability of a government job and train hard to become a nurse, all while having no interest in caring for people in need. Some will even actively seek to rid themselves of problematic clients by denying care to those most in need of care, i.e. the elderly, handicapped, mentally ill, or dying patients. This dying patient's too much of a bother, so let's just not turn up when they ring the buzzer, because hopefully they'll die. It's terrible. We have a friend of ours in a hospital here in New Zealand who works with other nurses. She's a nurse, but she's a very, very senior nurse. Works with other nurses who literally are out to kill some people so that they don't bother them. Because they're just too much of a bother to deal with. Unbelievable. And by the way, under the government's rules, these people can never be fired. And that doesn't matter if they have literally killed people, they still can't be fired. There's no accountability. So how often have you blamed customers for being PIAs? Do you know what a PIA rating is in a business? Pain in the ass. Right? So I literally, again, remember that I talked about, before we started the seminar, I talked about these friends of mine who destroyed good employees. They had a PIA rating, literally, for their customers. So it was everybody else's problem. It wasn't their problem. It was everybody else's problem, They never focused on what they were doing wrong. They always focused on what their staff were doing wrong, what their customers were doing wrong. So, when you start having PIA ratings for customers, you've got completely the wrong emphasis in your business. Okay, so company culture. This goes hand in hand with company roles. Now, just because someone can do a job doesn't mean they will fit into your machine, right? This is where company culture comes in. You need to recognize that your company's culture is what your company's culture is, and what personality types are best suited for a role in your team. So some people are bubbly and outgoing people. Some people are introverted and quiet and very reserved and don't talk a lot. Again, Debbie, if you've ever worked in a commercial kitchen, you'll know what I'm talking about. Some people want the radio blaring and going full time, and they're stress mongers, and they like to be busy and active and just talking a lot and talking a lot and talking a lot on the radio and lots of noise and all the rest of it. And some people are quiet, introverted, solid workers, and they will just head down, bum up, and they will just work, right? You've got to decide what company culture you want and who's going to fit into that team environment. You want people who play well with others and are team builders. Remember, it only takes one rotten apple to spoil the bunch. Okay? If you end up with somebody who's an insane twit in the company, especially if they're in a middle management or upper management role, they will destroy a company and a team of really, really dedicated workers just like that. So be very careful, again, who you're hiring and into what position. So this is from Elon Musk, and sorry, I have quoted Elon Musk because I was too lazy to find quotes from other people, because Elon Musk has some really good ones. So it's not because I'm obsessed with Elon Musk or anything like that, but he just had some really good quotes around this. So all the way through the seminar, all I'm doing is quoting him. My biggest mistake is probably weighing too much on someone's talent and not someone's personality. I think it matters whether someone has a good heart. So this is Elon Musk talking about hiring staff and hiring employees. Sometimes we're so enamored with somebody's talent and skill that we forget they've got to fit in and work with a team of people. They just might be a really talented arsehole. Excuse my French. I don't know if you know that I learnt French as a child. By the way, I only got 9% of my French exam, so that's why it's not very good French. But anyway, so you know, somebody can be very talented, but just a very, very bad team builder, very bad for a team. So this comes to the next point, systems and procedures. Many of you were probably expecting this to be the first point, Debbie. And while it is at the heart of good staff management, without the preceding points, structure, role definition, and company culture, it is impossible to get a good system set up and working. Okay. Again, you can have a whole lot of talented people who don't play well with others, which means you don't actually build a team of people. You build these people who are just fighting people. And again, sometimes compassion can be the most valuable talent that somebody has in a company. Somebody who has empathy for other people. They might be hugely talented, but they just are not empathetic when it comes to dealing with people with handicap issues, or some learning difficulties, or who are new to a job and going through a whole lot of stress in terms of learning that job. While they want to do the job, they're just going through a lot of stress, and your lack of systems and procedures creates more stress, so that means that they are incapable of actually doing the job well, and they turn sour very quickly. And these people who are talented and know their job really well are just have no empathy for the people who don't yet know how to do the job well. And they will create a toxic work environment in the process. The best way I can describe the role of a system in terms of staff management is staff don't run a system, the system runs the staff. Okay? Let's say that again. Staff don't run a system, the system runs the staff. Now this comes back to when you're building a company, it's different from a job. A job is all about you doing a job. Building a company is all about you building a system which does the job. Now people are meat machines or cogs inside your system. It's not there outside the system running the system. The system is running the people. And when you flip that equation around, suddenly you start getting the idea about what it is you're trying to build when you're building a system. Okay? In the ideal system, everything a staff member needs to do should be prompted by the system and require acknowledgement from the person that it has been done before they can move to the next task. Now, this does not mean that there should be ridiculously tight and inflexible systems created that hamstring your employees from using common sense to overcome unusual edge case scenarios when they arise. However, having no system at all will be the main driver behind stress, i.e. the one thing that causes most staff issues. You don't have a system, and you don't have a system that helps somebody do a job properly, the person's stress will go up because they don't know what they're meant to be doing. Even if they know how to do what they're meant to be doing, they just won't know if they're doing it right today. Okay? Good systems eliminate stress. Badly conceived and built systems, or no systems, create stress. Simple as that. Systems are typically centered around lists or hints and tips placed in situ. E.g., if your staff need to drive a bus, make sure they have a checklist to complete at the beginning and the end of the job, and helpful notes appropriately placed that specifically relate to the quirks of that vehicle to make their job easier to perform. Okay? Don't just expect them to turn up and remember what they're meant to do. Give them a little list of, here's the checklist of things to do before you start the bus and leave. Here's the things you're meant to do when you park the vehicle, and make sure you've done these things here. Here's little hints and tips. This vehicle has a compressor that takes 5 minutes to compress up, and so make sure you idle it for 5 minutes at so many thousand revs. This vehicle has an air conditioning system which is over here, which is hidden underneath the steering wheel that you didn't know about. This vehicle has a quirk where the backing camera sometimes has a blind spot over here which you can't see. So make sure you walk around the vehicle before backing backwards. All that sort of thing. So there's all sorts of little things. It's the same thing if you're doing hotel room cleaning. Why would you ever expect a hotel cleaner to remember all the list of the jobs that they have to do when they're cleaning a hotel room? They should have a list of jobs, like check the cleanliness of the bath, look for XYZ, XYZ, and XYZ. Clean the toilet, clean the shower, change the toilet roll, remake the bed, change the sheets. Do not just make the bed with the old sheets on. There's, check that the minibar is stocked up. Check that the welcome pack inside the hotel room has a pen and has the appropriate paper and hasn't been taken away by the clients. Check that the brochures have been filled up and stuff like that. So these are things that is a list of jobs to be done every single time a hotel room is done, is that sort of thing. And so that, again, you're not relying on somebody just to remember all the things they need to do. There's a list of things that they need to do. And in some cases, have that as a tick list, that they actually perform that task, so that can go back to the job manager or the person who's oversight to say, did they perform the task? And there should be some little catch in there. So they're not just ticking through a list without thinking about it, but ticking through a list and maybe to do with the minibar, to list the items that were used on the minibar, or to list the items that they added to the minibar, or if there were no items added, and that sort of thing. So, again, everything sort of has its reason and purpose. And put it in situ. This is not in a operations manual sitting propping up the chair of a desk in the back office, that's this thick that you have to rifle your way through to find what your job is that you need to do with the list of things that you need to perform. This is an in situ list which happens like in the place. Like, for example, again, a bus, that should be sitting on the dashboard of the bus, not in an operations manual or on a job sheet. If you take a job sheet with you onto the bus, that should be part of the job sheet, in a hotel room, that should be a job sheet on a clipboard that you carry around to each hotel room, and you take that job sheet off and you put that on your board for having cleaned that hotel room. So it's in situ, it's not buried away in a manual. Systems and procedures, except overly bureaucratic government mandated ones, e.g. OSH manuals, and I'm not saying that OSH systems aren't good, but having an OSH manual buried away in an office somewhere, what the hell is the use of that? Who the hell's going to read it? You do it. 3 years later, you're going to redo it. Who's going to read it? You need a sign in place where the OSH problem might occur, They should never be stored away in a folder kept in the office or under table legs. How many times have you ever come into an office and seen sort of like a wobbly table being propped up by a manual of some sort? That's our operations manual. All systems are solely designed to eliminate pain points. That's all they're there to do. Okay? Just to eliminate pain points. Not to manage pain points, to eliminate them. Right. Accountability oversight systems. A well-designed system will oversee that a task is performed as required. The system will oversee that the task... Did you notice I didn't say the person? You will have an oversight person, but the system will oversee that a task is performed as required. However, sometimes you may need to add a layer of people into the system, sometimes, whose sole role is to keep your staff accountable, or to ensure that they have correctly followed the right procedures, e.g. checking payroll-related entries or something like that. So there might be a layer of people added into the system, but it's not... It shouldn't be the norm that people are doing oversight to other people. It should be that the system does that oversight and that somebody might be there just to check the final last little piece of the puzzle. Remember, accountability and oversight relate to relieving stress for everyone and eliminating pain points, not just policing criminal activity. Make sure your head is in the right place when dealing with staff. Thank you, that's my alarm going off. Make sure your head is in the right place when dealing with staff. Also, any issues are on you and any success are on them. Okay? So, when you're thinking constantly, my staff are a pack of criminals and I've got to stop them from stealing off me, right? And all my accountability systems are related to policing, criminals that I hire. My goodness me, who the hell hired them? Who the hell are you hiring? Some quotes. There is a tremendous bias against taking risks. Everyone is trying to optimize their ass covering. Another Elon Musk quote. I just love that. People are sitting there trying to eliminate, taking a risk, as opposed to taking a risk and being rewarded for taking a risk. They're covering their ass the entire time. If we fail, that's my fault. If we succeed, it's because of the amazing team we have. Now, that's what a company owner needs to have in terms of accountability. It's not my staff's problem when we screw up. That's my problem. That's on me. When my staff screw up, it's because I didn't set my systems up correctly in the first place. I didn't hire the right person for the right role, and I did not set a decent system up that made them able to do their job in a wonderful way. That's my fault. In terms of if the staff or the company succeed really well, that's my staff being an amazing staff, and that's their thing, and that just empowers your staff to do the right thing. Training. So ask yourself a question. How much of this masterclass do you think you'll remember tomorrow? How much of this do you think you'll remember? There's, by the way, 8 points. Out of 8 points, how many do you think you'll remember tomorrow? What about a week? What about next week? Or in a month from now? Probably none of it, right? Probably won't even remember one of the headings, right? And this is really critical and important information for you, the business owner. So what are your staff going to remember? Do you want the quality of the work your staff do dependent on a short familiarization course at the start of their employment? Are you running a 6-week training program, or do you sort of do a short introductory 1 to 2 hour sort of familiarization? And you're expecting to remember any of that information, after they walk out the door, after the first familiarization session. They're just not going to. They might remember 1% of it, 10% of it, if you're lucky, Remember, most people will be highly stressed when attending their first day at work, which means they are likely to remember even less. Okay? Therefore, don't rely on memory. Instead, train people where to find the list, tips and tricks, notes, and help files. Don't train them how to do a job. Train them how to find the lists. This is not much use. There is not much use training much beyond that on the first day. Therefore, training is a daily event. and is primarily focused on teaching people how to use the system, not how to do their job, assuming they were employed as a skilled worker in the first place, i.e. you're not conducting a training program. If your job is conducting a training program, let's say you're training forklift drivers, and your job is to conduct a training program to drive people how to drive a forklift, fine. Your entire focus is on training, right? And you're doing that over a 3 to 6 or week course, or however long that course would take to do that job. You're now training people into a skilled role. But if you're hiring skilled forklift drivers, you don't want to be training them how to drive a forklift. You want to have little tips and tricks on the forklift itself. These are the levers that do this. Remember to always do this. Here is a list of things that you need to do when you start your forklift. Here is the list of things you need to do when you finish with your forklift. Here's my job sheet, and on my job sheet I have the tick box of all the things I need to do, including very, very clear instructions of where I need to go and what I actually need to do. De-stress. De-stress the whole scenario. Don't make somebody have to think, oh, am I doing this correctly? Oh, what the hell was that for? Oh, jeepers, I forgot. He told me something about that, and now I've forgotten. It's gone out of my head. A lot of people train off a list, and then they take the list away. And it's like, what? You used the list to train them. And how long have you been doing the job for? Yet you still required a list of things to train them. So why did you take the list away? How are they going to remember? Leave them with the list. Unbelievable. Where possible, assign new workers a buddy whose role is to de-stress the worker. Notice, de-stress. It's not about something else. De-stress the worker, providing helpful insights into avoiding issues and for helping with the familiarization of equipment or processes. Again, their job is to just de-stress, this equipment here, just have a look at this note over here. Just pay attention to this note over here. It says, don't stick your head underneath the pressure hammer, right? That's why we have this cage for, so that you can't, and you can't even reach around there, when the machine's operating. That's for good purpose. It pays not to stick a box underneath that cage to keep the cage open because you're sick of opening and closing it. That's probably not a good idea. That's how people lose their arms and legs. So just de-stress the whole thing. Anyway, summary: teach the system, not the job. Unless you're specifically doing a job training course, teach somebody how to do the system, not the job. If you find you're teaching somebody how to do the job, separate the two roles in your head at the very least. Okay? My role is training. I've got an apprentice and I'm training them, and I need to put them through a training course. I need to also have a system for training. Okay? And then whatever job they do, I need to have a system around that job. Okay, so which I need to train them how to use the system. So there's two different roles there. One of them is training them to do a job, and the other is training them how to use the system, which will enable them to do the job because they're already a skilled staff member. Welcome pack. Just as you won't remember much of the seminar, so we provide the video for future reference. Your staff will not remember much of their training, and it is almost useless training them on company culture, regular events, e.g. staff meetings and social engagements, company principles and rules, etc. Give them, that's spelt wrong, give them a welcome pack, i.e. a folder or a brochure with detailed information like you get in a hotel room. Okay? So, this is the point of, why are you trying to teach them things about company culture and, that we have a staff drinkies every Friday night, make sure you come dressed with Halloween outfit on, and, we have these 5 principles of a company, that never walk in backwards through the front door, always walk out backwards through the back door, make sure that you never listen to your boss because he's an idiot. These are 5 principles of company culture and stuff like that. They're never going to remember any of that stuff. And again, you're probably reading off a list when you talk about it anyway. So put it to them a nice little welcome pack. Make something a little pretty welcome pack for them to take away with them. They can then take it home and go through it at their leisure when they are not stressed out. It is also something they can refer to when they are unsure about something. Okay? For example, drinkies on a Friday night. They said something about drinkies, and there was something about dress code and where we're meant to go, what time we're meant to turn up. Jeepers, there was something they said. I'm just not 100% certain about it. I'll refer back. There it is, all about the drinkies Friday night, in the welcome pack. That's now I know, easy to remember. And again, most people would love to take home and study that information at home after their first day at work when they are distressed, and they can just learn it at leisure, and they'll become way more familiar with it than trying to be on the job, being constantly supervised by somebody and still learn that information. It's just not going to happen. Don't just tell them they are welcome, show them by having systems specifically designed for new employees, like buddy systems, like welcome packs and stuff like that. Show them that the systems are specifically designed for them, not for already people who have been there forever and know how to work the system. Don't have this newbie culture, spot the newbie, How completely debilitating to a grown-up person who is skilled and trained for a job, and then to be told that they're a newbie and told that they're a useless newbie who are going to make mistakes. What are you inviting? You're inviting mistakes to be made. This just belittles the person, makes them feel like they're an idiot before they've even done anything wrong. You're the newbie. Yeah. Well, what does that tell you about the business? Obviously, your systems are crap. Because there's a difference between newbies and people who have been there for 10 years. Because your systems are so crap that the newbies have to take 10 years to learn how to use it. Crikey. Think that through. Always keep excellence in mind. If your staff are not stressed out by being worried about that they are going to do something wrong, they will have the headspace for thinking about what they can do to improve their performance. If somebody's like, for example, driving a bus, Lisa, and you jump and you're thinking, now what the hell am I meant to do? They said something about this and something about that, and there's something about this bus, and they told me, don't crash it. And I was like, holy shit, okay, concentrate, shut up! Yeah, okay, get on with driving the bus, How are you thinking about excellence? Are you thinking about how much more fun you can make this for your passengers? How much a better job you can do as a driver? How much more courteous you can be to the people on the road? How much more smoother you can drive it so that the passengers don't get rocked around in the bus? If you're thinking about the stressful parts of the job because there's nothing to direct you and get your mind off that, then you're never going to be thinking about excellence. You're never going to be taking it to the next level. You're never going to be, saying, how can I go that next step? And it comes down to every job. If you're hiring bakers, Debbie, and you're hiring bakers and they're thinking about not burning the toast or not burning the bread, they're not going to be thinking how to make just the dough that much better and how to knead it and just that much better and how to get the timing just right. They're going to be worried, is it burnt yet? Is it burnt yet? Is it burnt yet? Oh, shit, bugger. I opened the oven 3 times, which killed the bread, how do your systems go about relieving stress so that they can be thinking about how to improve on what you have, not how to not screw up what you have? See the difference? One is focused on problems and the other is focused on solutions. They may even come up with ideas on how to improve the business. Are you open to this? Are you open to the idea that your staff are going to tell you how to improve your business? Have you created a system for staff to suggest changes? There was a company, Nissan, way back in the early 80s, or I think it was the 70s, they came up with what was termed the Nissan model. Because they realized that all the middle management layers as the company had grown up had blocked communication between the lower level employees and the upper management. because everybody was doing ass covering all the way up. So that if this middle manager had a problem and that was creating a problem for the person down here, this person would complain to their boss. But do you think that boss would tell their boss? Hell no. Because they're trying to cover their ass, because they are the one who made the mistake, right? And so this just created an explosion of problems. I did some consulting for a company a number of years ago. They called me in because what happened is a bigger company had split off into two, and the management of one of the companies had bought this other company out. So they ended up with the manager, and then they ended up with the sort of middle layer of managers, which they actually didn't need, which came from the bigger company. So when the company split up, they took these middle managers with them, but they didn't actually need this middle management layer. It could have just been from the boss down. They could have literally got rid of the middle management. But the middle management were then sitting there trying to protect their job, because they knew that their job was a waste of time after the company had halved in size, right? So they knew that their job was a waste. So they were now ass covering the entire time, trying to protect their role. So they were stopping all communications coming from the floor staff who were actually doing the job. So they called me in because they were having all sorts of customer-related issues and all sorts of other things. And so an old mentor taught me to talk to the receptionist. The receptionist always knows what's going on. It's amazing. There's sort of the communication flow goes through the receptionist. So he taught me to turn up a little bit early, get to know the receptionist and talk to the receptionist. So that's what I did. And the receptionist told me all the problems that were happening in the company. So I wrote down what the receptionist told me and took it to the manager, which was above this middle management layer, and exposed the incompetence of these middle managers and the ass covering. And suggested the Nissan model as a way to create that communication flow from the bottom to the top, so that there wasn't this ass covering layer stopping that communication. They thought the middle management, of course, were part of the new owners. So they were on the board. So they, of course, didn't like this idea. So the primary owner, who owned sort of more than 50%, he was, of course, heavily influenced by these middle management, and they were meh, meh, meh in his ear, so he was taking their advice. So he then pulled in another more experienced consultancy firm, like a really big one, paid a lot of money. I think it was like Deloitte's or something like that, because obviously I didn't know what I was talking about, who charged them a huge amount of money and passed him a report that literally was almost word for word what my report said. And he came back to me and he had to acknowledge that, he'd made a mistake, and asked if I could, at a much cheaper price than Deloitte would charge him, help him to move the company forward, which I did. And so they became very well known. But anyway, long story short, middle management tend to block communication. And do you as a company owner tend to block your staff from telling you how to improve your business? Do you literally set up a system that encourages that communication? Not just don't block it, but you actively encourage it. Something that is rewarded. So you're not just suggesting it or setting up a system for it, but you actually reward people when they give you the right sort of communication, when they suggest changes and improvements. Take the stress out of the job so your staff can focus on that extra 10% that turns a good job into a great job. Remember, your whole company focus should be on excellence. Your company focus shouldn't be on not screwing up. Your company focus should be on excellence. How do we lift what we're doing to the next level? How do we always improve what we're doing and take it to the next level? How can we build that model of excellence into our business so that we take away the stress from the staff and we are always improving what we're doing as a company? How can you be striving to that next level? If all the staff are trying to do is get around you, then they're not going to create an excellent business. And if all you're doing is dealing with these shitty people who can't do their job properly, you're not going to be focused on excellence either. You're just going to be trying to get the bloody job done, And I can tell immediately I walk into a company whether their focus is excellent or their focus is not screwing up. Because you see the in tray on the boss's desk. You immediately know the in tray's full and all there is problem documents. And then you ask him what's the system. Oh, the system is put all the documents there on the boss's desk. He makes sure that you're doing your job properly. Okay. That's going to fall over. Make your company one that focuses on excellence, not issues. Okay?